Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of At Home with LA. I am here with a wonderful guest today who does hypnosis, and her name is Denise, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got involved in it?
Right. I do hypnosis. I like to refer to it as the happy hypnosis. Things that can make people happy.
I love that, and God knows we can use that right now in this day and age.
For sure. It can help from releasing stress, helping to sleep a little better, maybe getting rid of that fear when you want to get on the airplane and take a trip, or if you are having trouble taking a test and that fear comes in and you forget everything that you learned. So it's helping you with a lot of the coping skills that we use every day. And through hypnosis, I can help get rid of the blocks that get in the way of having a better life.
So I know I am a big fan of hypnosis. Obviously, anything I talk about, I'm a big fan of, right? I'm not going to do a video about something I'm like, oh, I don't believe in any of that. So I am a huge advocate of hypnosis, and I really do. I think it's such an important tool. And those of you who watch my videos know I am a huge advocate of therapy. I personally think from the time you come out of the womb, you should be in therapy and the world would be a lot better place. Mm-hmm. But I call it talk therapy, can be limited sometimes because you could only talk about what you know is bothering you. So this is where I love hypnosis because I feel like sometimes there's things that we're not always consciously aware of that's just below the surface, or sometimes as adults we judge things that maybe happened in the past and go, oh, that was no big deal. Mm. And I think this is where the key to hypnosis comes in, where I come to someone like you and you can pinpoint and work to help remove those blocks and those fears, and sometimes things will come up that I might not have even connected in my conscious mind.
Exactly. And here's a perfect example. I had someone come in to see me a while ago for fear of flying. Well, as we got through the session, it turns out I let their mind present them with the memory of where this fear first came from. It turns out it had nothing to do with airplanes.
Really?
They were in college working at a Rathskeller, the bar and restaurants in the college.
Okay.
Got locked in the freezer on a Thanksgiving weekend and believed that they would be left in there to die since everyone left.
Oh my gosh.
After about 6 hours, someone did come by. He had completely blocked that out of his mind. But when we were in the state of hypnosis, he was able to go back, let that memory come up and say, I had forgotten all about that. It was the fear of being enclosed, not the fear of going up in the air.
I love this work. This is the kind of thing that I love. I love what we do. I really do. Because this is such a great example of why this is such an important tool. Because if someone's afraid of flying, and may I just say I love flying, and you do not want to sit next to me on a plane if you are afraid of flying, because I'm like, look at the clouds, look how high up we are. I'm like, the fear of flying is person's worst nightmare. But that is such a great example because, so someone has a fear of flying, and they're so desperately trying to figure out what happened. Did they see a crash? Did a family member have? And they're not even thinking in that other direction. And that's why what you do is so valuable.
Exactly. Because what it does is it allows the critical mind to get out of the way. And just a real brief explanation on how I describe hypnosis. You've got a guard at the front of your mind saying, hold on, I've been hurt by this in the past. Whether it's touching a stove as a young kid or falling in love. I've been hurt by that, so I'm never going to let that happen again. But then somewhere along the line, we're going to need to clean that stove even if it's a little warm. Or we're going to want to fall in love even though it hurt when we were in 3rd grade. So we need to get that block out of the way. And through hypnosis, it takes that guard on the door who's saying, don't go there, that hurts. It kind of puts that part of the mind to sleep. Then we get back into the subconscious mind and we get to do a little reprogramming where we say, now, do you want to fall in love? It makes more sense. Do you need to clean that hot oven? Yes, but you know how to be careful now. You're not 3 years old anymore. And you get to release the fears that are no longer serving us. Originally, these fears come up because it's trying to protect us, but sometimes ends up hurting us. And through hypnosis, we can release those blocks.
That's amazing. So what do you, so we're talking about like specific fears that maybe, you know, people, you guys watching might have a specific thing. But what about someone that just says, you know what, no matter what I do, I can just never seem to find my happiness. You know, I have these brief moments of happiness, but there's just something where I just feel like I can never fully be in the moment, or I can never enjoy myself. Like, what if somebody doesn't specifically have a fear or a focus? How can this be helpful to them?
Well, usually I ask them what it is that they want. Okay? What are you looking for? What's your goal? And then we work on taking you into the state of hypnosis, which is just a very relaxed state. You're fully aware of everything that's going on around you while you're in that state.
So you can't make them be like a chicken.
No,
I always tease people about that with past life regression. People always go, what are you going to make me do? I'm like, nothing.
No, we charge a lot extra for that.
Yes. And we video it.
But it's just a matter of getting to find out what you want, and then the mind presents the blocks that are stopping you from getting there as you just let your mind flow in that very relaxed state. Sometimes it could be something you've heard. Our mind believes everything we hear. And sometimes things that we hear from people in our lives, like our parents, our grandparents, our friends, our co-workers, we hear a lot of these things over and over, and our mind starts to believe that these things are true. You're never going to be happy in this job. You're never going to be able to afford to go on a trip. You're never going to be able to get ahead in business. And we begin to believe it because our mind heard it, and unless we're counteracting it with something else, our mind says, this is the program that she wants. She listens, she believes it, let's give it to her. She doesn't want to afford that? Fine, we'll make sure that she does not afford that trip. And it's getting in there and changing it to a positive and saying, yes, I can succeed in my business. I can go on that trip if I save a little bit of money. It's still working within reality.
Right.
But it's opening up to the positive side of the possibility, because your mind is just, it's the mainframe of this computer. And you're programming it.
Do you see why I'm loving her? Do you see? Because I get so frustrated sometimes. I'm always telling people, like, there's no such thing as magic pills and magic wands. It's all about doing the work, having the courage to do the work, and creating the life that you want. And that's why I really wanted to do this today, because this is such an important part of that work.
Yes.
And there is so much research being done now about the power of your mind. And I'm constantly talking about focusing on the positive. And this doesn't mean that you're never going to have a bad day. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be sad or you're not going to process things. But it's just about not getting stuck in it. Because I think that's a really big problem that people have. I always joke around, don't become your story. Like, rewrite it if you don't like it.
Exactly.
So how can this help with, I don't want to say traumas, but I know it would work with that too, but just, you know, overwhelming events that might happen to people that they feel stuck and they can't, maybe, just I'm thinking of an example off the top of my head. One of the biggest issues I get a lot with people is having a hard time moving forward from things. Whether it's a relationship or a job that they feel like they were mistreated, and the words I get all the time is, if I just had closure.
Yes.
So how can this help with that?
What we do is metaphors. Something using metaphors while they're in the state of hypnosis, and showing them that what they're holding on to, the fear of moving forward, it happened before, it's going to happen again in fear. It's, I was so traumatized, I don't think I can recover. All those type of feelings we can release when we look at ourselves from a distance and see how it's holding us back. And then through different metaphors, I can do things like, let's take a look at that fear. Let's give it a color, let's give it a shape. Let's put it on that hot air balloon and watch it fly away, literally. And just through that, people can actually release a lot of the things that they don't want by actually seeing it released out into the air, out into the universe.
Isn't it so funny how we get so stuck on the fear of things? One of my favorite mantras, I'm always telling people, feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, people always say, oh, you're so brave, the things you do. I go, it's not that I'm not scared to death. It's not that I don't feel the fear. I just feel the fear and I do it anyway, right? It's not like you wait for the moment where you never feel the fear, because I think when you are doing things that are really big changes, they are going to be frightening sometimes, and you
Sure.
are going to feel that sense of that fear.
And most of the things that are causing the fear are things that we've learned or heard over time. If you tell a 3-year-old to go out and dance in front of a whole bunch of people, they will dance with reckless abandon. They will have the greatest time because there's no fear. But somewhere along the line, someone has told them, oh, don't dance in front of people. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to call you stupid. You're going to look like an idiot. And you start to believe the things that you hear, the things that we're programmed with.
Right.
So it's undoing the programming that we don't need. And the more that we teach our mind, I have that fear, I have that thought. Is it serving me? Is it helping me? If it's not helping you, why is it in your head? Let's get it out. Let's
Sounds
remove it.
familiar, everybody? I love this because I'm always saying, I really truly believe that all of these different modalities work hand in hand, and they all so complement each other. They really, really do. And they're all such important tools on the journey to happiness.
Yes.
Because it really is about creating the life you want. And it took me a very long time in life to realize that I didn't have to keep responding to things. I could actually be proactive. And I didn't have to be the victim of what was happening, but I could change my perception of what was happening and then shift my experience.
Exactly. I saw something recently as simple as everyone knows the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. Does it really matter? It's refillable.
Right. I love that. That's awesome.
There's always a different way.
Right.
And we tend to have trouble going the other way because of blocks, and that's what hypnosis can help you do, is release the blocks.
So if someone is coming to you for a session, what could they expect? Is there any kind of preparation that they have to do ahead of time? What is a session like the first time somebody's coming to you?
What I usually do is talk with everyone on the phone first to find out what it is they're going to be working on. Because very often they'll say, for example, with the gentleman, I'm afraid of flying. Then I will ask a couple of questions to see that it may be something deeper or different. When they come in, we talk a little more about how the session will progress. We have about a 20-minute intro, and then I get them into a very relaxed state. Just sitting quietly, I help them relax their body and relax their mind, and you go into a state that's very similar to the sleep state, just before you go to sleep and just before you wake up. That little twilight area.
It's my favorite time.
And that's when the critical mind steps out of the way, and it's open to listening. What I end up doing is using your words back to you. What you've told me you want, I put in a different form to tell back to you. But still your words, so you're comfortable hearing it. And your mind begins to say, you know, this is true, I do want this. I do want to make these changes. I do want to have these things better in my life. And during the session, we'll go through that. It's not like talk therapy.
Right.
We won't go back and discuss everything that happened to you and how you feel about it. If there's something that you feel was bad that happened to you that you want to release, we'll watch it almost like it's up on a movie screen. See over there what's happening to you. Now, what you learn from it, is your lesson done? Do you need that fear anymore? Do you need that lack of confidence anymore from it? It's not necessary. It's not serving you. Let's release it. And then again, we go into the metaphors of how it releases. And then after the session is over, I bring them back up to a waking state. And after that, they have to try every day to deliberately think the new thoughts. It's just like driving. We're in a rut. It's literally a rut.
Right.
We're driving down the rut every day. That road just goes and the wheel goes automatically into the rut. So you've got to remember to turn that wheel to the other direction, to the more positive side. And pretty soon it will start going there automatically. And this is why I say with hypnosis, I can't make you do anything that you don't want to do or anything that you don't believe in. You're in total control during the session. You can even wake yourself up at any time in a session. If you
So
say,
there's
you know what,
nothing
I need to
anybody needs
sneeze.
to be uncomfortable
Not at
with, or right.
Not at all. If you need to sneeze, you need to run out to the restroom, you'll just say, wait a minute, you'll wake yourself up and you'll go. And most people tell me when they're under, I don't know if I can be under, I'm not sure what it's going to feel like. And then when they wake up, they say, I heard everything you said. I also heard the planes going by overhead that I didn't hear before. I heard the motorcycle down the street that I never thought I could hear from this place, and you're just actually more aware of everything going on around you.
I just think this so ties into, I feel like there's been such a shift of energy in the last few years, and I feel like my generation was the let's go to therapy and like blame everybody for 100 years and not move
Yes.
forward and let me work with therapy for 20 years. And I just think that there's a new energy now where it's not, and again, I'm a huge advocate of therapy, so before you pick up the pen and write me the letters, but I think it's different spin now. It's about exactly what you just verbalized. It's about going back and saying, yes, this happened, but do I need to hold on to this? And we don't need to spend 20 years constantly revisiting it and talking about it, because I feel like it just keeps you in that energy. So that's why I love this work. It's like, let's acknowledge it, and now let's figure out a way to move forward from it.
Exactly. And hypnosis can be used for so much more. This is what I use in my practice, what I explained briefly before. Getting rid of fears, building confidence. But it's also being used in hospitals around the world. They're using it in the Mayo Clinic, at Johns Hopkins. They're using it for pain issues. There's a hospital in Florida that is doing hand surgeries using hypnosis. It's a much deeper level than I bring to people to. But it is such a deep level that they do not feel the pain while they are having the surgery, the operation. And that helps the body recover faster. It spends a lot less money on the anesthesiologist. And it's just more positive experience for the patient. And they're finding out how many other things. It's been used throughout history.
Right.
It's got a very long history. It got pushed out of the way after a while because modern medicine came in, which is wonderful. I work with doctors. I work with psychologists. When they get their clients to a point where we're not moving forward here, they will send them to me. And the doctors will say, this person has a knee injury, but they're having trouble staying away from the sweets. Or this person really needs to get into therapy, but they're not releasing a block and we can't figure out what it is. Then I can help them observe the block, and then they go back to their talk therapist.
So it's a complete overall approach that can complement so many other things, whether someone's working with traditional therapy or someone's dealing with a physical issue and is going to a doctor. There's just a place for this in so many different venues.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
That is amazing. So for someone who's watching right now who's thinking, oh, hypnotherapy, I don't know, I'm thinking it's for me, what do you want to say to them?
There's nothing wrong with trying it. You have nothing to lose. There was a gentleman that was afraid to do hypnosis with me. He was a friend of mine, and he was a little nervous. And I said, well, consider this. You get to sit in a chair, very comfortable. You're in air conditioning, so you're out of the heat or out of the snow.
Which is a good thing today.
And then you just get to relax and listen to a little music and just listen to me speak very nice, positive things to you. There's no downside there. And then once we're done and you come out of it, you've only got something that can help you. So there's no downside to giving it a try.
I love that. I love it. Do you see why I am so excited? Thank you so much for stopping by today and letting us do this video and just kind of getting this information out there, because I really feel like this is just such an important part, and it's such an important tool for a lot of you that are just really on this spiritual journey and looking for the next step. You guys know I am such a huge advocate of taking back our power and taking responsibility for our own lives and looking at things that we can use to really shift into the energy that we want, and we can create the lives that we want. So we're going to have your information here somewhere. And of course, you're going to be doing some workshops at our center as well. So always keep track of on the website. And thank you so, so much.
Well,
I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And we'll definitely have to have you back.
I'd love it.
All right. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of At Home with LA. And until we meet again, remember to be great. Thanks for watching.